Holden of Juniper Research in the UK. Dr. Holden recently wrote a new white paper that examines the loss of revenue from traditional wireless carriers to OTT over the top carriers. And Dr. Holden, if you could please sort of outline the general trend and some of the figures that are involved here.
Sure. If you look at, to begin with, the problem that operators face, it's that they are all pretty much featuring within saturated markets. And on top of that, when you have no subscribers left to get, as it were, you also have the over-the-top players, the WhatsApps, the Skypes, the Facebooks coming in and further eroding their revenue stream. We're seeing a significant migration of communication formats, so that historically, whereas it was voice over circuit switched, it's increasingly VoIP calls. Where it was previously SMS, it's now instant messaging and increasingly social media communication. So the usage levels of circuit switched voice and of messaging are diminishing quite markedly. And we did some calculations looking at the levels of usage of VoIP services, looking at the levels of usage of IM services like WhatsApp, and the figures are quite startling. And the net result of this is that the operators are expected globally to lose a figure of in the region of 14 billion. That's the lost opportunity that's represented by this migration of traffic to the OTTs.
And from the consumer perspective, not to oversimplify, but what's happening, I think, is why would I pay a carrier a rate to send a text message or a voice call when I can use a free web-based service that accomplishes the same thing, correct?
That's the problem. Now, the operators understandably are rather aggrieved at net neutrality, because they perceive the OTTs as getting a free ride on their networks, and they do have a point to a certain extent. You know, they're supplying these services over the operators and not paying the operators for them. So the net result is that the network operators, as a result of these next generation services offered by the OTTs, are seeing quite significant erosion of revenue. In the UK, in Spain and Italy, if you take 2008 as a baseline, revenues are down to 60% of what they were if you look at voice alone. If you look at messaging revenues, KPN in the Netherlands has been quite severely affected in terms of messaging volumes and in terms of revenues by the OTT. So there's a lot of substitution occurring, and the net result is not great, particularly for the European network operators.
And in your paper, you also laid out some opportunities that might be there for the carriers to recoup some of this loss and also create some new revenue streams. You mentioned explicitly mobile money and expansion of NFV technology. Can you kind of give us a roundup of what those opportunities are and how these carriers can capitalize on it?
Sure. If we take the mobile money side first, we looked at a number of different revenue streams, some of which would be more applicable to various operators depending on the markets that they're playing in. So, for example, if you look at basic mobile money transfer, that is particularly pertinent to operators playing in developing emerging markets, particularly those where you have relatively low levels of banked population. So given the relative ubiquity of mobile, there is a significant opportunity there for the operators to offer financial inclusivity to consumers for the first time. If you then look at payments for digital goods, there is a quite significant opportunity for operators worldwide to utilize carrier billing as a means of paying for those goods and services. Historically, you had SMS, premium SMS, as a main driver here. Now it's become primarily credit card based. However, there is a quite significant proportion of the population that doesn't have credit cards or don't want to enter their credit card details onto their phones, or even it might be an impulse purchase where it might be too much hassle to enter your card details on the phone. Operator billing enables a very quick, simple mechanism for the consumers to monetize, to purchase their products. It's great for app stores and third parties because it means they can monetize customers that they previously couldn't. And of course, it's great for the operators to retain a foothold in the content value chain.
And that seems to be a revenue source that's emerging based on customer fees. Is there anything the carriers can do that focuses on their internal operations to realize some cost-saving efficiencies?
Well, you touched earlier on the NFV, the function virtualization, and certainly there are significant opportunities there for operators, A, to reduce the costs of proprietary hardware, but also from a time to market perspective. If all the functionality is virtualized, then it's a lot easier to update that over the air and reduce the time of your product to market, particularly if a competitor has launched a product. And if otherwise it would have taken the best part of a year to launch an equivalent product, then you can launch that product far, far quicker and reduce the effective loss that you would otherwise have incurred.
Very good. So at the end, there's a startling loss of opportunity here, but there's also some chances for big expansion. So we certainly appreciate your time, Dr. Holden, and thank you for tuning in to RCR Wireless.
Thank you very much.